Hello, I hope all is progressing well. Welcome to I Don't Know, We Can Talk About It, where we discuss myriads of topics civilly, reasonably, and responsibly. My name is Kevin Dufresne. Our first topic is about learning in connection with CTE, though acknowledging learning in connection with sex. When I refer to the term sex, I am referring to men and women biologically. Now, one may argue the aspects of which the article discusses more so connect biopsychosocially. Having a purpose with learning is very, very sound toward encouraging individuals that may not be completely aware of purpose beyond education, aside from perhaps an individual or so in one's life acknowledging education as a necessity, being supportive of education beyond ensuring one is at school, instilling values for one to grow with, to appreciate learning, aspects of an educational atmosphere in connection with one's life beyond even an educational atmosphere. CTE is amazing. I feel as though being able to culture individuals toward a career path, especially when in a position of an entity paying for one to pursue learning to be more successful in a career path, that really seems to operate well for individuals that may not be quite aware of a particular career path in connection with CTE. When an individual has an opportunity to thrive through an educational atmosphere, practically toward one's choice future, one may find an individual has more interest in education, has more interest in learning to succeed well in that which interests one. Considering how many areas of interest are so immediately available to an individual, one may assess how to navigate helping an individual understand what may be ahead for one's life. If one assesses one's life personally, I feel as though more information may be available personally for an individual in more direct communication with what an individual may be surrounding oneself with, who an individual may be surrounding oneself with. So an individual may navigate how one wants to live one's life. A career path may be ideal for an individual, for one trying to understand what may be happening in a home that may not be bringing in an income equivalent to the average in a nation, in a state, in an area where one is living. One may have different personal interests. One may have different personal situations that are affecting an individual in myriad ways. So one may be trying to understand how to navigate from where one is, and if one is not necessarily receiving guidance which makes sense for one to succeed beyond from where one is, then one may need more assistance with understanding how to navigate the interdependent reality at large, especially considering one's personal reality. When an individual is growing in a family, extending from a family, one must understand one is connecting with from where one is until one is no longer there. Then one must grow into one's own life. If one chooses to do so, if one is aware enough to do so. CTE may prove extremely valuable for an individual that is attempting to understand how to navigate from where one is. As one proceeds, one must continue learning. Learning is lifelong. Learning well is lifelong. What one chooses to do with one's learning depends on how an individual may want to grow. Life is wonderfully vast. Considering how one's choice life may be, may allow for one to make more sense of what one is doing in an educational atmosphere. If one is not of such a mindset, then one may be able to engage as to why by understanding where one is coming from personally, one's personal reality is a complete unknown, which needs attention from an individual personally before one may be able to be aware of how to navigate, why to navigate from where one is. Even beyond from a point where one feels as though, okay, life is stable in the way one feels is necessary to be able to move on to one's actual choice life. So, assessing an individual requires myriad forms of attention. CTE is a pathway that may allow for one to access a life beyond from where one is, especially if with good partnering entities that are well aware of how to ensure success through such a pathway, as well as aware of how to ensure any individual coming through the pathway may understand what else may be beyond the pathway. Life is not necessarily like the book The Giver. One has a life, and one may opt to choose how one's life may grow. So individuals may find great value in pursuing life with an understanding of what one wants personally for oneself, beyond from where one is, especially when one has access to resources supporting one's journey. Our next topic assessing learning. How does one assess whether one is at a grade level, ahead of a grade level, even considering if one assesses competitively reading levels per regions globally, per state, nationally, internationally, however one wants to approach learning levels. Learning by assessing intelligence in connection with the subject is of a mysterious realm. Learning involves intelligences. Individuals, human beings, are of broad spectrums of intelligences. So, when assessing, how might one be able to assist an individual with improving learning, navigating how to retain information, navigating how to better implement information, that which one learns? One must assess what is an individual to be receptive to with one's learning. How is an individual being receptive? When assessing different intelligences, one may not deem oneself an expert, if not engaging with an individual in the myriad instances of life of which one experiences. One may only be able to acknowledge an individual from where the individual is coming from presently. Not in the sense to say, if an individual is coming from home, that one is to assess, well, one is coming from a home, one is coming from wherever one is coming from where one is presently. even with all that might be connecting to an individual that may be present there, that is the individual presently. What one must do in such a situation is to engage with assisting an individual in navigating one's interest especially when engaging an individual about learning well beyond an educational atmosphere. Teaching is available widely. How one will learn is a mystery. How one may learn is a mystery. Though one may assess how an individual might be engaging, how an individual might be learning through myriad forms of engagement. How might an individual be more successful with implementing one's learning in a practical sense beyond an educational environment? An individual may receive tutoring. An individual may receive extra practice in an educational environment, beyond an educational environment. An individual may be seeking to learn in myriad ways and finding value of learning in a way that is in complete disconnection from the other ways. Though, if an individual receives encouragement, receives proper attention in respect to learning, one may be able to assess how to implement what one is learning in a way that is more interesting for one to engage with. If an individual is in an educational environment, though does not receive any type of educational awareness about what may be in connection with academia or beyond, further along with academia, then a student might be wondering, what is the purpose of the particular educational environment? If an individual is in an environment outside of an educational environment, engaging with learning that might be in complete disconnect with an educational environment, though it's proving valuable for an individual, then an individual might be thinking differently about how to proceed with learning and how to proceed with implementing what one is learning from outside of an educational environment. When assessing how to engage with an individual, the whole person, the well-being of a person, an educational environment is to be of educational criterion, respecting the reality beyond an educational atmosphere to better engage an individual, to further engage in one's life beyond academia or through academia, if one so chooses. If one finds a particular pathway of one's choice life, learning is beautiful. Learning well is extremely beautiful. What one may do with what one learns well, with good learning particularly, may prove extremely fascinating. All right, we're going to make origami. An origami boat. Now, to make this origami boat, we're going to start off with a square paper, though a rectangular paper may work as well. First, we're going to fold in half our sheet. And then we're going to fold in half again. So we're going to have 4 long rectangles. I'm going to fold it to meet in the middle. See that? So now, here we are. We're here with our fold. So you can see if I open this, we have 4 rectangles. Though we're going to close them so that we only have 2 rectangles. We're going to fold in the corners now. We're going to fold in each of the 4 corners. As you can see, here's that first form. Well, let's fold in the other. Doesn't have to be perfect. Just needs to be as best as you can. All right, here we go. Now that we're here, we're actually going to fold again over these. We're going to make another fold. And you'll see this fold comes like this. If you can, try to make a balance between the top fold and the bottom fold, because they're gonna cross over here. We'll discover. Okay, and it's all right if they cross over. You'll understand why as we continue on. All right, so here you go. This is your inside. Now, the next step is we're going to take this, we're going to fold it in half, this form here. Okay. Then we're to flip it in reverse. So I'm opening up this fold. As you can see, I'm opening it up, and you can already see we kind of have a boat here. So we can just open it here and push down, as so. And then we have a boat. Alternatively, I believe you can literally reverse fold it, and you can make a different boat. So you have 2 forms here. This one seems to match more so what the photo is. I like this boat. It looks like a rowboat. And of course, if you put wax on the bottom of these boats, well, they'll float along really well on actual water. So this is the boat. Again, if you want to, you can attempt to reverse fold it completely and have a completely different looking boat. Though I like how it looks right now. So I'm going to take that instruction here and appreciate this wonderful looking boat. I really like it. All right. I champion reading physical books. Reading a physical book has so many benefits in connection with spatial development, which is really engaging the world around. So one may be more aware, practically, of the world one lives in. The text we're discussing today, a world without email. The text explores how communication workflows may be more efficient with different ways of engaging. The idea of emails being redundant, the ideas of emails being potentially overwhelming, potentially cumbersome, if one will, potentially not an ideal form of communication. Will vary between every individual engaging with email. I think the text proposes good methods towards improving efficiency, toward improving workflows that allow for one to assess how engaging, how communicating may be if not through email, if through parameters that are more so to reduce redundancy, that allow for clear communication. Clear communication meaning communication with an individual in a way that allows for one to recognize one's humaneness, to recognize an individual as an individual more so than a part of some process through some computing mechanism or mechanisms available to one's fingertips, however one connects electronically. The idea is that communication may be better, that workflows may be better through systems, if not systems, that the text offers, methods that individuals create amongst themselves that may prove valuable to being more efficient, arguably more mindful with communication. I do like email. I think email is easy to navigate, easy to use. And I feel as though an area of the text that needs consideration is what kind of email is one receiving and how is one receiving the email, which connects with how might one be giving an email. And being able to navigate understanding the different parameters of how one is connecting with another human being is very important to life. I feel as though recognizing life broadly is very helpful to assess minutia. On another note about email may be really fun. Though one may want to assess where one is having fun through email and how one is having fun through email need not be bothersome. So one's experience with email might vary per individual. Of course, with email, like with a text message or a phone call, one may assess boundaries with email depending on the context of an email, the context of a call or a text. Our communication in the world that we live in is seemingly capable of being constant, which does not mean that one is available all the time for whoever is reaching out. There are boundaries, which I find the text approaches quite well in determining why communication may improve and how communication may improve. Of course, beyond the text, there are myriad ways of improving communication beyond email that any may choose to embrace so as to improve efficiency, communication, and understanding beyond technology. Because when one is attempting to understand one form of technology, one may be trying to understand another form of technology. And the technology of things may prove differently for every individual. I think the text is worth deliberating over, especially if one wants to think about email in different ways. And if one might really be attempting to engage with what is the email to how one communicates, to why one communicates, amongst whatever else one might discover. Thanks for joining another episode of I Don't Know, We Can Talk About It. Onward and Upward, Kevin Dufresne.